Hi, it's April. I'm checking in with a lot on my mind concerning what I have dealt with being a long-term woman of God. When people hear that word, that term, woman of God, different things come to mind. A lot of times people think that indicates perfection or some kind of status spiritually that transcends anything they've ever heard of in their circle, and they want to place a person on a pedestal, or they want to hold them to the highest standard. But the truth is, everybody is just a person. Everyone is human on the earth. I remember as a young woman when my marriage failed, and we had a household of children, a household full of small children. And there were so many different issues that I don't even want to try to delineate all of that right now. And it was a long time ago, and God is not telling me to speak on all of that right now. But I want to speak about the feeling that I had as a person who had been administering the gospel of Jesus Christ and talking about Yahweh inside of the Christian church as a music ministry leader. At that time, praise teams were a new occurrence. Praise bands were a fresh idea. It was that long ago. And we were the first people on our praise team at our church. And just stepping forward into a role like that. And in that space, we ministered to all the people, and wonderful things happened. People came up to us and said how they were touched by the different songs. I used to do a lot of dance ministry stuff, things with the children, and just life as a church person, as a Christian wife and mother. It was very rewarding and busy and lively. And when my marriage started falling apart, there was no frame of reference for that. There was shame coming from different members of the community. I had talked my mother into joining our church by that point, and so my mother was part of the congregation and was hearing all these things. People started making up lies and rumors concerning why my breakup was happening, and people began to take sides. And all of that was so unnecessary when they could have just asked me or talked to me. But I never made a public statement because, number one, I was covering my ex-husband's sin. And number two, because I felt such a heavy shame surrounding going through a divorce that I wanted to hide. I wanted to still present this united front with my ex-husband and children, and it was just breaking. It was dissolving. It was, in the end, not important to God. A front, a false front, a facade is not important to God. Actually, it is deceptive. It is an attempt to deceive the people around you into believing something that isn't true, and in an attempt to manipulate their thoughts toward you. But I will say this, that those who love you will not need convincing to love you. Those who are truly on your side and truly praying for your welfare will not need convincing to continue to do so. Only fake people, only people who aren't really there for you in the first place would need all of that from you. God is somebody who can see everything. Everything. The fights, the arguments, when the person did you wrong repeatedly, the abuse, the emotional trauma. He sees all of it and never thinks less of you. He never thinks less of you. He said, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy. He knows that we're like the dust, that we only last for so long as human beings on the earth. He gives us grace, and he does not give us the punishment that we deserve. That's Psalm 103. One of my favorites. I'm sure you could hear that in my voice. But my point is, as a person in a certain community, a church person, if you will, it is a huge thing still to be married and breaking up. It is not condoned. It is frowned upon, and there's still a lot of shame surrounding it. And because of that, a lot of people do a lot of pretending. And I realized after I went through that whole process and I made the decision to leave the church family and leave my ex-husband there with my mother, all of that's really awkward, but I left them both there in that church and took the children somewhere else so that I can have some peace and some experience with God afresh. Because I knew that even though things weren't working out for us as a couple, that things were going to work out for me and God as a duo. And I wanted to start from there. And in the end, people made up way wilder stories after I left. And it's funny now, but back then I was devastated. I couldn't believe they were making up all this stuff based on nothing. But their opinion does not matter. They do not feed you. They do not pay your bills. They do not give you the love that God will give you. Their opinions do not matter in the end. Managing other people's thoughts of you is extremely manipulative, and it's too much for a human being. Take it off your shoulders. Release yourself. Allow God to work things out as you wait in His arms. Jehovah, the full-breasted one, will feed you and nurture you and be there for you and keep you safe emotionally and physically and spiritually. Release yourself from people pleasing, because those who really love you do not need it. That's all I had to say for now. More later, and I love you. Bye.